This episode I'll be teaching you how to use the JavaFX scene builder. It's a really cool tool made by the same people who maintain the JavaFX project. It's a cool tool that allows you to build JavaFX applications with the GUI. So it's like a drag and drop, what you see, what you get type of thing, where you can design GUIs without even having to type a single line of code. Of course, realistically, you're still going to want to have to use code whenever you're working with these applications, but it's going to help you a lot so you don't have to type all the code out to make an application, okay? So yeah, we'll get more experience with it, don't worry if you don't know what I'm talking about. So first what I'm going to show you here is we have a new project here. I just created it, and you get the simple JavaFX template that comes with IntelliJ. So obviously everything's red here, so that means we need to import the project itself, or the library for JavaFX, excuse me. So we'll do that right now. So I just need to find it. So that's going to be in my C drive where I downloaded it to. And then select the library, and boom, there we go. Cool, click apply. That's going to apply everything, and now everything's not red anymore. Well, it is red. The thing over here is red because I have Git installed. There's a Git repository managing this folder here, so that's why it's red. It has nothing to do with the code inside of it, but this looks good now, right? So we can go ahead and edit this configuration, and we need to paste this inside of here to make it run. And yeah, okay, so now we can run this and see how it looks, see how our template application looks. And it should look pretty standard, pretty simple application. And there we go. So now we have a simple little application here, just like we expected. And let's go over how this structure is laid out, because before we just deleted everything and we made our own project from scratch, which is good because we want to know how to make an application from the bottom up. But now that we know a good amount of the JavaFX API, we want to go ahead and learn the different ways of structuring your application, okay? So we have a main class here, which is common for your application, the extends application, and this is going to control the scenes and everything like that. So you can set your scene, set the title of the window, all that fun stuff. And then you have a controller class here, and it's empty, but what this is going to do is basically allow you to control the events and stuff like that whenever you're working with the controls, okay? But yeah, again, you're just going to put all of your events and stuff inside of here. For example, if you click on a button, then that will be controlled inside of here, basically, okay? I believe that's how that usually works. That's how we're going to use it. And then finally, we have the sample.fxml file here, which is another way for you to code JavaFX applications and put nodes on the screen, right? So we have a grid pane here, and the grid pane has an alignment of center, as a H gap, as a V gap. And usually whenever we make a grid pane, we would go to our code here and then make it. But as you can see here, there's no grid pane objects created inside of our code. So yeah, this is another way to create nodes and controls onto your JavaFX applications without even having to write a single line of code. Of course, this code is for your window and for your scene, but the controls itself and the nodes, the child nodes, will be made here. So it makes everything easier. And if you're wondering what FXML even means, it's a type of file that is built off of XML, which is a little, I guess you could call it a programming language. Not really a language, but it's a type of language that you use usually with websites, but XML is very common, not really nowadays, but it's very common for stuff. And if you want to learn more about it, then you can go to w3schools.com and you can learn XML and the syntax for it there. I'll leave the link for you in the description below so you can check that out. But yeah, you can learn XML, and then it's basically going to use that same type of syntax for the FXML, because it's basically a customized version of XML, but for JavaFX, right? Because it's FXML, right? So this is going to be game changing for us now, because instead of creating our grid panes and our nodes and stuff inside of here, we're going to actually use FXML. And you're wondering, why the hell would I want to type it out like this? You know, that seems a little confusing rather than actually writing the code. And we can easily write the code, you know, create some objects in like 2 seconds, right? Because we know how to do it now. So why use XML rather than the code? And the reason is because we're not actually going to be writing in XML. We're going to use Scene Builder, and the Scene Builder is going to write it for us, right? So we can use the Scene Builder, and it's automatically going to generate the code for us. And then if we ever want to make small changes within the XML, we can. So if, for example, if I want to change this H gap to like 20, I can easily do that. You don't need to be an XML expert to be able to know how to use XML, right? So we can use the Scene Builder application to do all the heavy work, and then we could do the small editing and stuff like that within the actual FXML file, okay? So yeah, that's basically how that works. Again, the FXML is going to be a way for us to control the nodes on the screen without having to write a bunch of code, okay? So it's a much more structured way and easier way, okay? So yeah, we're going to get plenty of practice with this, don't worry, in case this is overwhelming for you, because we haven't gone over FXML at all either. So now let's actually look at what Scene Builder is and how we can hook it into this, right? Because I told you this will generate the XML code for us, right? So if we go to the website for it, we need to download it, obviously, right? So we can go here, 1 second, let me open this up, open guest window, because you don't want to see my history. And there we go, okay? So now we can look up, let's do it. So Scene Builder. Search Scene Builder, I spelled it wrong, but you get the point. And so now you get Scene Builder by Gluon, and Gluon is the people who also manage the project for JavaFX, as you can see down here, or up here. So you can find JavaFX here, you can download it here. The current version is 12, and then 13 should be coming out, it's early access. But yeah, the current version is 12, so that's JavaFX. But let's go back to Scene Builder now. And we can see that we have this cool little application preview here where we can, if you look closely, we can see that we can be able to build applications with a drag and drop GUI interface. So basically you're using a GUI to build a GUI. Kind of ironic, but yeah, that's pretty cool. And so yeah, let's go ahead and download this and install it onto our computer. And we can choose whatever system we're using. So Windows installer. Looks like it's downloading. Give it a second probably. Come on, buddy, hurry up. There we go, so now it's downloading, but if we go back here, we can see that it's for Java 11, not for Java 12. And this current series is working on Java 12 as of right now, but that's okay, it's still gonna work with what we're doing because the language or the API doesn't change that much between versions, okay, at least currently. So anyway, we can go ahead and install this once it's done, give it a second. Okay, so now the installer for Scene Builder is opening up here, so we can install it, obviously. Okay, this is pretty standard. We can just accept this, whatever, scroll through. If you want to read that, you can do that. And then it's going to ask me yes or no in a second here. Just click yes, there we go. And then now it's going to finish installing. And that's all we need to do. So click finish now, and we're good to go. So what we want to do first is go into IntelliJ. And there's a way for us to hook our FXML file to the Scene Builder. So currently you can see that I have a text tab down here and then a Scene Builder tab, but you probably won't see the Scene Builder tab because you haven't set it up yet. So if I was to click this, nothing would happen because it actually is broken for me also for some reason, but we still need to install it so we can do some magical stuff, okay? So if we want to do that, we can go to File, Settings, and what we want to do is tell IntelliJ where to find the Scene Builder application. Alright, so we can find, let's find it. It'll be Tools, right here, Tools. And then now we want to find JavaFX. And it's not here, probably. That's fine. Somewhere. Okay, under Languages and Frameworks, that's where it is. So then go to JavaFX right here. And now you have this one option, Path to Scene Builder. I already set mine, obviously, so you can set yours. There's not going to be anything here. So just click this little file thing here, and you need to find it. So you're probably not going to know where to find it. So usually by default, whenever you install it, it's going to be on your C drive or whatever the default drive is for your computer or whatever. And then go to Program Files, and then find Scene Builder. So here's Scene Builder, open that up. Then now we need to find the .exe file. There we go, so scenebuilder.exe, click that and then click OK. And so now we just set the path for us. Then click Apply. Mine's already applied because I already had it set in the first place. Then click OK once you're done, okay? So now it's set up, okay? So if you want to test it out, you can try and see if this works for you. It doesn't work for me, obviously, but it might work for you. Maybe you're special. So you can use that and you can switch between Scene Builder and the text. But something really cool that we can also do is if we want to open this FXML file in Scene Builder itself, we can right click this and then do open in Scene Builder right here, okay? So we can open FXML files in Scene Builder and then it's going to automatically change that file for us whenever we make changes inside of here, right? Because like I said before, this is the Scene Builder is going to automatically make the changes inside of here, so we don't have to actually learn XML and then code everything by hand, okay? So it makes our life way easier, okay? So anyway, let's go to Scene Builder and check it out. So we have a cool little GUI here, and it's not that hard. It's kind of ugly, to be honest, in my opinion. You would think that a GUI, to make GUIs would be more sexy, like IntelliJ, but it's not. It's kind of simple, but whatever. So we have a bunch of different options here. If you want to preview your current application, so preview, then do show preview window, and then you have your application here, okay? Kind of simple. And then, so this is one of the most important parts. You have the document model, and then under that you have the hierarchy. And you can open that hierarchy, and you can see all the child nodes inside of that hierarchy. So the root node is going to be the grid pane, obviously, because the only node that we have is the grid pane. So that's our root node, right? And so let's say we want to add something, or let's just delete this. So backspace to delete that. And so we can go into here and find any node that we want to add to our application, okay? So it's a really cool application builder. So this is the controls tab, but if we want to add a layout pane like the grid pane, we can add it by going to containers. So we can find all the different containers here, or the grid panes, or the layout panes, right? So let's select one that we like. We'll just do the grid pane again so you can see how it works. And boom, so now you have a grid pane here. You have the columns, and then you have the rows. So it's a little big by default. So this is one little cell. So we can make that smaller. We can edit it by going to the right here, and you have the properties tab. So we can open and close this. So you have properties, layout, and then code. And code is going to be useful in the future for the controller thing that I told you about. And then you have layout, which is important for also changing the layout of this. And then you have properties again, which is going to be, yeah, it's just all pretty much, for styling this and making it look sexy and customizing it and all that fun stuff. So imagine having to control all of this with the XML file, or with the code even, right? That would be a lot of stuff you have to do. So this makes it way simpler for you. All you got to do is change your application inside of here, and then when you save, all of the changes will be automatically loaded into the FXML file that you have here, right? So it hasn't changed yet because we haven't saved it, right? But we haven't, really changed anything in the first place. So let's add something in here just to test it out. So if we click this, we can see it, and then if we let go, it's just a simple blank thing. So yeah, if you want to edit something, you just click it in the document viewer here. So right. So yeah, let's add a control here, or a child node of any sort, and we'll add a slider. We never made one of those before, so let's add a slider, and you can choose where you want to add it. Pretty cool. Or you can just add it randomly, and it'll add it for you. So yeah, now we have a slider here inside of our application, right? Pretty cool. Looks kind of ugly so far, but we would have to mess around with it to make it look sexy. So yeah, we added it there. So now let's try making it show up inside of here, right? Because nothing has changed yet, right? So let's go back here, and we'll do file, save, or we can do Control S. So let's do Control S, nothing happens, and then now it's saved. So we go back here now, and look, it added all this stuff for us. So yeah, just imagine having to type all of that out. That would be very painful, right? So that's why Scene Builder is very powerful. Not only can you build applications with the GUI so you don't have to type any code, but we can also give our application more structure by using a FXML file instead of writing every node with a actual line of code, okay? So we're going to be transitioning into FXML rather than doing everything with code. But don't worry, we're obviously going to still be using code with the controller and just other stuff we need to do. Like for example, we need to still change scenes. We can't really do that with the FXML thing here. We still need to do a lot of stuff that's going to be managed by our code, but the front end of our application, the stuff that's actually displayed, is what we're going to have inside of here, okay? So just structure. It's all about structure. Hopefully I'm not rambling too much. Hopefully you'll find this very informative. So yeah, we can add more stuff if we want to. We can add a spinner here, whatever that means. So now if we do Control S and go back here, we can see that it instantly changes to add it right down here, a spinner, okay? Pretty cool. So you have the slider and the spinner as children. And we can even close this. And if we close it, it's going to be gone, right? So if we want to open it back up, we can automatically open it back up by going again. We could do it here, or we can go to the side here and then find it down here, open Scene Builder, and now it's going to open right back up for us to edit it. So it's really fluid. It's very, it's hooked together really well, so you can edit it very easily, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that's one way to do it. You can make an FXML file and then open it with the Scene Builder, or you can open up Scene Builder manually without actually having to right-click this, and then you can start a new application by scratch, okay? So you can choose a mobile, or you can choose any of these other templates. So we can start it from here, here. Let's just choose a complex application. So we get a cool little template here. Nice, pretty cool. And now we can see in our document viewer here in the hierarchy tab, we can see the different nodes that we have here. So we have a VBox, that's our root node because it's at the very top. And then the children of that is the menu bar, the split pane, and the HBox. Pretty cool. Let's actually delete this. We'll make a new project actually. So new, and let's just have a simple empty project, okay? So last episode we made the form with the grid pane, but now let's try doing it with the Scene Builder so we can see how easy it is instead of having to write all of that code out, okay? So let's make a grid pane here as our root thing, of course, right? Because that's what we used. And so we'll find a grid pane here. Grid pane, there we go. So add a grid pane. And so now let's try adding, we'll have a username and then a password, and then have the fields here for they can type it in, like we did last episode. I believe. And then so we need a label for that if we're gonna have the the text things. So we'll have the label. So here's a label. Boom. Let's add one right there. Let's add one right there. So we have two labels now. We'll select the first one, or let's change it to username, and then press enter. Now it's going to be changed automatically. And then looks like we can change it from here. That's kind of cool. Password, boom. So now it's password, and now let's add the text boxes. Right, this one will be a text view or a text field, and this one will be a password field if you remember correctly, or if I remember correctly. So text field right here, and then we'll find the password field node, password field. There we go. That's pretty cool. And then finally down here we'll have the create account button. So we'll find the button node here, or button control, whatever. It's alphabetical order, by the way. So button right there. Okay, so obviously this doesn't look really good. If we preview this, it looks like crap. So we need to push this forward a little bit, like push them side by side, and then just make the cells are too like big, obviously, right? So if you click on this, we can we click on this, we can see that the cells are very large, right? So let's try and make them the right size, okay? So we can do that over here on the right side by clicking grid pane. Then we can change the properties of the grid pane, and then we can also change the layout with this tab here. So let's try and changing some stuff. Okay, so let's add a view gap and a H gap. So the H gap is going to be the horizontal space. So we'll make it like 10. 10 is a good amount. That's what we did last episode. So you can automatically see that now there is a space in between. It shows you that very well. And then we'll have 10 for the V gap. So it also add the space for that. Pretty cool, but still spaced out a lot. So let's try fixing that. So a preferred width and then preferred height. Oops. That's cool. It showed, if we clicked on that, it shows us the documentation for that. That's awesome. Anyway, we'll go back here. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, so now we can change this to whatever we want. Let's change it to, let's see what 100 looks like. So 100 by 100. So this is going to be the cell width and the cell height, the preferred, obviously. And then the min and the max use the preferred. So it's all about this one, really. So anyway, so it's 100 by 100 currently. So it's a little small, obviously. So let's change it to use computed size, which is basically going to use the size that these nodes take up, right? So this node takes up a certain amount of space, so that's the space it's going to use for the preferred. Because certain nodes take up certain space, so might as well just let this decide how much space they even use in the first place for each cell, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, let's add some padding here because everything's on the edge, as you can see, so that's not very presentable. So let's add some padding. We can click the grid pane and let's find the padding option. That's going to be in layout. So we go to layout, we have the padding here. So we have 4 different padding options, obviously, because there's 4 different sides. So let's do, what's 30? Oh, that's way too much. We'll do 5. Let's do 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. See how that looks? It looks way better. And then we have a button down here. Let's change the text for the button. Okay, oh, it'd be up here for properties. So create account, like that. So now we have the button here set up. So this looks way better, obviously. So this already looks way better. So we can type stuff in here, put some stuff in here, create account. Pretty cool, right? So let's push this. So let's push this together to be on the same side as this. So one way to do that is we can actually edit a whole column or a whole row just by clicking on it. That's kind of cool. So if we edit this column here, we can click on the column, and then now we have the layout and the properties options for the column. There's no property options for the column, so we'll just click layout again and see what we can do. So we have the H grow sometimes, and then we have the H alignment. So let's set the alignment to the right. So this will be pushed up onto the right of this here. So that should do that. So put that to the right, and there we go. So that is already on the right side of it. That's kind of cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our little test application that we made. Of course, last episode we added a email field also, so they can enter their email, but this is pretty much the same thing as we did, so that's fine. So now that we created this scene builder application, or GUI, how do we get this and turn it into a IntelliJ project, right? So currently it's not linked into any project because we never opened it with the the tool here, right? So we don't have anything for that. So we need to save this to a file, to a FXML file. So we can do File, Save As, and we can choose the save location. So we'll go to Spigot Tutorial, no, JavaFX, no, here, and then here. And then now we can find the episode, source, sample, and we can save it here. So we're going to name it, we'll call this login form. and that's going to be saving it as loginform.fxml. So it says changes saved to loginform.fxml. Pretty cool, right? So what we did here is we created a new application with Scene Builder without linking it to a IntelliJ application, and then we saved it as a FXML file, then so that we can add that file to the application here. So now we can go in here and we can see that the file has appeared here, and we can see all the code for it, right? Pretty cool. So how do we get this to show up in our project, right? Because currently if we run this, it's still going to show the FXML, or then it's still going to show this one here because that's the one it was set as, right? Right here, see? So as you can see here, we're loading that into our application. So how do we load? So let's try loading in the one that we just added, right? So loginform.fxml, pretty cool, right? So we'll do that. So parent, we'll call this, let's call it, we'll call this login form root, okay? And then we're going to load this in. So we're loading the FXML file into our application basically, okay? So login form root, so we'll do FXML loader dot load, capital L looks like, or no it's not, lowercase l, and then now it wants a parameter, right? Well, we can just pretty much do what they did up here. So we'll do get class dot get resource, and then now we can provide the name of the file. So login form.fxml, okay? So that should load that file into its own little parent node here, and we could use that parent node and turn it into a new scene object. So scene login form is equal to new scene and then login form root. So what we did here basically is took our login form that we created with the scene builder and turned it into a scene. So now we have two scenes. We have one, which is going to be the default scene that we loaded this project with, but now we have another scene called login form, which is going to represent our, obviously, our login form, right? So currently, if we run this again, it's still going to load the default scene because we haven't changed it down here. So we could also, so let's try changing that. So we'll do set scene. Let's get rid of all this crap. And we'll set the scene equal to login form. So instead of loading the root scene, it's going to load the login form scene, okay? And there we go. So now we get our form here. So we were able to successfully create a GUI with the scene builder and then load it into our IntelliJ application and then make a scene for it and then display it on the screen, right? So now you can see hopefully that everything is starting to fit together, and we're able to structure our application in more detailed ways. And what I mean by that is we're going to start having different scenes for different FXML files, right? So there's different parts of our application, obviously, right? Sometimes you might have different windows, sometimes you might have different screens that you want to show on the screen. And so you want to create an FXML file for each of those parts of the application, and then create a scene for each of those FXML files, and then switch between any of those scenes interchangeably. Yeah, hopefully that made sense. It probably didn't, but yeah, that's how that's going to work. You're basically going to have scenes for different FXML files. That's the way I would do it, at least. You just want to link each of your FXML files to a scene, okay? And yeah, so if you're still a little confused on how this works, don't worry. We're going to get plenty of experience with this in the future. So now that we're getting more advanced, we're going to start making some actual applications. So yeah, don't worry about that. So just one thing I want to show you here is in an actual application, you might want to create a resources package here. So resources, and then now you can put all of your XML files in the resources package. So click OK, and then put this one in here also, so click OK. So now we can have some more structure in our program. So any of the XML files can be found in the resources package. And also you can see that IntelliJ automatically renamed the location for the file, so it still knows where to find it. So that's pretty cool too. So yeah, just keep in mind, if you ever make a package and then put the FXML file in that package, you just know that you need to actually specify the file location, okay? So yeah, that was a lot. I showed you a lot today, but that's pretty much it. Let's test something out actually real quick. So we have our application here. So if we run this, we can see that it shows our GUI that we just created. Okay, so now let's go back in here because we still have it open. Let's close this other one. So we go back in here, we can see that we still have this open. Let's try changing something inside of here. So we'll change this from username to poop. Okay, and then do Control S, and then open this up, and it should be saved, and it should have loaded automatically. So let's see if it automatically made the changes inside of our XML file like it did before. and we can see that it did not. It still says username, so nothing changed, right? So the reason that is, if we go back here, we can see that it is changed in here, but it didn't change in there, so something went wrong. So if we go here, we can see file, and we can see the save option is not available anymore, and that's because, remember, we just changed the file location for the login form.fxml, so now it doesn't know where to change it because the file's not even there anymore, or it doesn't know where to save it because the file's not there anymore, right? So if we go ahead and select this and click save, now it knows where to save it. So just, yeah, do that. And then now we can go back here, and now it's going to change. So it says poop now, right? So that's pretty cool. And so for now, if we make any further changes, it knows where to save it. So let's test that out. So we'll change the password to something random, do Control S. Now we'll go back here, and we can see that it was automatically changed, okay? So yeah, just keep in mind, you need to change the file location on Scene Builder if you change it within here, okay? So that's pretty much it I want to show you for this episode. I give you a good overview of Scene Builder, I hope. Hopefully you understand how it works and then how it hooks into IntelliJ and how you can use FXML files. And hopefully you're not worried because you don't have to learn the XML language. You can just use Scene Builder, right? And then any small changes obviously is going to be really easy to make because, you know, it's pretty verbose. You can see that if you want to change the minimum height, all you got to do is change it to 20, right? Really simple, right? Like that. So yeah, if you're a little confused on what I showed you today, you can ask any questions in the comment section below, or I'd rather you join our Discord server. We have a Discord server with about 400 people where you can join and ask me questions, ask anybody questions, and they'll try and help you out if you have any questions. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you found it informative, and leave suggestions for what you want to see. And that's it. So also all the code for today's episode is going to be in the description below, so make sure you check it out so you can see the code for future reference, okay? Also, if you want to support this channel by becoming a member, you can click the join button below this video, and you can join for 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month, and you can cancel at any time if you want to. And by the way, we have a new member called Joshua Pryor, that's his name. And yeah, so thanks for joining, Joshua. And if you want to join, just click that join button, okay? And that's it. So if you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and peace.